Welcome, everybody, to the Flagship Podcast. I am Chip Brown of Horns247.com, joined by the managing editor of Horns247, Taylor Estes. And Taylor, it is December 13th, Tuesday, December 13th. It's been a rough week, shall we say, in the college basketball universe of the Texas Longhorns and the college football world. We lost Mike Leach at the age of 61 after a massive heart attack, and that has filled the airwaves and the sports centers with all kinds of unbelievable stories. Before we get into all of that and Texas football preparing for the Alamo Bowl against Washington. They got a new punter for 2023, Mike Leach. And I have to say, Mike Leach once told me that he was fired from Texas Tech. They did not pay him $800,000 because they fired him for cause over the Adam James lie that Adam James told it, saying Leach locked him in a electrical closet when that did not happen. And Leach sued, and he went to court, and he proved that that was a lie. And he sued Texas Tech to get that money. Well, in the state of Texas, you can't sue a government agency. They have sovereign immunity. And Leach told me, I'm going to push this all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And it would be something if that case ever made it to the U.S. Supreme Court. But I had Greg Byrne, who's now the athletic director at Alabama, tell me when he was at Arizona, he was deciding between Mike Leach and Rich Rodriguez. And he said to Mike Leach, if I hire you, will you drop the lawsuit against Texas Tech? And Leach said, absolutely not. And so Greg Byrne hired Rich Rodriguez. And
Which
he told me
went really well, right?
I should have hired Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Because that guy, the total outsider, Taylor, he didn't play the game. He was a lawyer, went to Pepperdine Law School. He was completely unconventional, totally authentic, totally original in a world of cookie cutters and coach speak. He was the shooting star. I mean, just we'll never see anything like him again. Love him or hate him, you paid attention to him.
Right. Yeah. And he changed the game. I mean, if you look at his coaching tree and the coaches that, came up from underneath him, not only did he change the game in being just such a unique kind of character, I think, and personality, and as you said, breath of fresh air, as just being a very unique individual, but his football mind was unbelievable. I mean, he really did change the game of football. He has helped mold the careers of some of the top head coaches now in both the NFL and at the college level. I mean, you can go down a list. I mean, and I feel like everybody has touched Mike Leach's coaching tree at some point. I read the book Swing Your Sword, and when you read that book, you get really a very in-depth insight into how his mind kind of worked. And some of it was like, this is absolutely certifiably insane, but it's just who he was. And this is a really sad day. And, our thoughts and prayers go out to the Leach family, the Mississippi State football family, and the community out there. And, I saw our Mississippi State site, Robbie Falk, he posted a picture of Mike Leach at a local Mississippi restaurant, like near the campus there. And, he basically commented about how Mike Leach became Mississippi. And for a guy that never is from the area, going to a really, really small area in Starkville, Mississippi, he just really embraced it all and was just a beloved, figure out there. And so, absolutely tragic. You hate when these type of things happen, but there's no doubt that he has left a lasting impact on college football now and for the future.
Yeah, and just go to YouTube and have at it. You'll find the play sheet caper, the Cotton Bowl caper, where he had a Oklahoma player when he was the offensive coordinator for Oklahoma in 1999. He drew up a fake play sheet, had a player drop it in the tunnel. Tom Herman was the GA who found it, took it to Bull Reese. Bull Reese formulates his defensive game plan based on this play sheet, and Oklahoma basically did the exact opposite of everything on that play sheet and got up 17-0. Bull Reese finally was like, this is BS. He crinkles up the play sheet, throws it away. Texas comes back to win it. But it worked.
Right.
I mean, and who does that? Like Tom Herman said, you think it's real because who would take the time to draw up a fake play sheet? Mike
Right.
Leach. Mike
Yeah.
Leach. And he almost pulled it off. And he, talked about Texas A&M's band and how they are in uniform and they have bayonets and how they're not soldiers. Like he's like, they're not soldiers. They're like toy soldiers. They dress up like soldiers. But just because I dress up like a pirate doesn't mean I'm a pirate. And then the whole pirate thing took off. And so, yeah, I'm going to miss him. He was a frequent guest on radio shows I hosted. He always came through. Don't call him before 10 a.m. because he's a late night guy and he sleeps in. But, he won his last game over Ole Miss against a coach who just got a big contract extension and raise. And no one, everyone wondered, could Mike Leach go to the SEC and win games? He went 8-5 this year, and unbelievable lineage. You're right. I mean, top of his tree is Lincoln Riley, who's the top of the game in offense. So
and
it's
Cliff Kingsbury too.
Cliff. Yep, no doubt. And it's formidable. All right, Taylor. Let's do a bad news, good news sitch here. We'll get the Chris Beard news and reacts out of the way. Obviously, Monday was a stunner. I mean, a stunner. We all wake up to a message board post on our Horns 24/7 message board with the Travis County jail inmate search revealing that Christopher Michael Beard, age 49, is in the Travis County jail for a third-degree felony assault, smothering, strangling a female member of his household.
Charge for that.
Charge, right. He's charged with that third-degree felony assault, and it just kind of goes from there. And by the end of the day, he's suspended without pay indefinitely. Until further notice was the actual term in the press release. Rodney Terry, Beard's associate head coach, is named acting head coach. And then the team has to take the floor Monday night, less than 12 hours after learning their head coach was in jail. They had to go out and play against Rice. And I wrote about this, and it was surreal. The arena, the feel, everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. And the players sure didn't look the same. And understandably so. They just had their college basketball worlds turned upside down and had to go out and play. And oddly enough, Taylor, the crowd sort of lifted them. The energy was weird the whole night, but Texas trailed Rice consistently throughout this game. And it gets down to a couple minutes left, and the crowd really got loud for the players and kind of lifted them, pushed them to get that game into overtime. And then the Texas players really pulled away in OT, and they beat Rice 87-81 in overtime. But players were not made available after the game. Rodney Terry, I said, has this shaken your faith in Chris Beard? He said, I love Beard like a brother. And the sense I get from talking to Texas officials behind the scenes is that they're going to let the legal process play out. There is not going to be a rush to judgment. We did hear from Beard's attorney, Perry Minton. I'm not quite sure how he's speaking on behalf of the complainant, but he said that, the complainant wants all charges dropped and for Beard to be released and nothing, he never should have been arrested. He's 100% innocent. We'll see. We'll see about all of that. But right now, these players and obviously our prayers go out to everyone involved in this scenario. The complainant, Beard, there's obviously a massive disconnect here. But these players too, Taylor, some of them transferred, and the freshmen, Dylan Mitchell, Arterio Morris, 5-star players, came here for Beard. Could have gone anywhere. Came here for Beard, and now everything's in total limbo.
Yeah, and it was shocking, and I feel for the players a lot too, with them going through that and then still having to play a game and have an interim head coach, and their head coach was not even released from jail. I think only like 3 hours or so before they had to take the court. Texas did end up getting a win against Rice, and yeah, I think you were right. In overtime, I think that they weren't themselves, and that's understandable. And it's a tragic situation. We will always try never to speculate when it comes to any type of instances like this, especially when it is involving charges, that do involve domestic violence. But it was shocking. Yesterday was a surreal day. And if you did not read Chip's, his post-game article on the, just kind of the emotions of the Texas basketball team, definitely go over to Horns 24/7. It's one of the free stories that we do have out there, but I feel like you did a really good job at just kind of expressing, the empathy for all parties involved right now, Chip. And it's a tragic situation. It's going to be an ongoing situation, and you got to let the legal process play out with these type of things. It sounds like from what you're saying, with people you've talked to, that's what Texas is planning on doing at this point. But it doesn't erase how sad of an overall situation is for all parties involved.
Yeah, and it's sort of unprecedented to have a coach at the top of his game in any sport, in American sports that I know of. I mean, Chris Beard at his dream school, a UT graduate, has a roster he really believes in. Maybe one of the best, well, definitely one of the best backcourts in the country, getting Tyrese Hunter, the Big 12 Freshman of the Year, who led an Iowa State program that was, had a losing season the previous year to the Sweet 16 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Had a game where he hit 7 3-pointers, decides to transfer to Texas because of his belief in Beard and the team that was here. And so this is really, really sad. I mean, these allegations are going to negatively affect everyone involved. And you just hope that everyone in this situation somehow gets better from it. I don't know. Saying that right now sounds ludicrous, but especially when, again, Chris Beard, who is so single-minded about trying to build this Texas basketball program into the program that it needs to be, with a new arena, everything, to now have all of that in total limbo is just stunning. And so, again, we'll wait for more information, more developments. Right now you have an arrest warrant, an arrest affidavit with the allegations from the complainant. We haven't heard from Chris Beard, and So we'll wait. We'll wait to see what develops here. But this is crushing. It's crushing news. It's stunning. It's a lot of for these players. It's just like, are you kidding me? And so Rodney Terry, the acting head coach, said these players have earned a day off on Tuesday.
Mhm.
And, he said to mentally and physically recharge. And after that day yesterday, man, you wanted to say, man, take the rest of the week off. But Texas
Right.
plays Stanford in Dallas in a game that is one of the feature non-conference games for Texas this season. And these players have to keep going. And Rodney Terry and this Texas coaching staff have a really, really tough job ahead of them. But Rodney Terry's got 10 years of head coaching experience. He's obviously, he knows what Beard wants, and we'll see if that message can get through. But and then on Tuesday, the women's basketball team learns that Aaliyah Moore, their star sophomore, has a torn ACL and is done for the year. This after Rory Harmon started the year with that foot injury and missed games, and Texas lost games. This is shaping up to be one of those seasons for Vic Schaefer and the Texas women's basketball team in terms of injuries. It's tough. But Taylor, Texas football, we have a punter. There is a new punter, at least committed to coming. Well, he's a grad transfer, Ryan Sanborn from Stanford. So Daniel Trejo, who John Banks, we always talk about the crazy wisdom of special teams coordinator John Banks.
Jeff Banks.
What am I saying? I used to work for a guy named John Banks. Jeff Banks, he finds these special teams assassins under rocks, and he brought in Daniel Trejo from Texas Wesleyan last year, and Trejo did fine, but his eligibility is up. So in comes Ryan Sanborn, who had over a 40-yard average. So Texas, at least, and Isaac Pearson, their Pro Kick Australia punter, who had been on scholarship, is in the portal. So Texas bringing in Ryan Sanborn, the punter, to go along with Bert Auburn and Will Stone. Taylor.
Yeah. And this is a good get. I mean, if you can, obviously with Daniel Trejo moving on, I feel like he was pretty late addition, but obviously came through big time for Texas. And then, the departure of Isaac Pearson obviously leaves kind of a gaping hole right now of unproven position. And so punting is really crucial. I mean, special teams for Texas this past year was pretty good. And, Jeff Banks, not John Banks. Jeff Banks is, I mean, he's one of the top special team coordinators in college football, very well respected with him also, being a former specialist at Washington State there. But yeah, this is a good get. And all eyes right now, I feel like, are on the transfer portal, both with the players from Texas who have entered the transfer portal and those that they're going to be going after. I think that there's several positions that Texas is going to want to try to fill some depth for in the transfer portal. And, if you're not a member of Horns 24/7, now is definitely the time to do it, because we will keep all of that coverage, both with early signing period next, which is, I believe, next Wednesday, right? Yeah, a week from Wednesday. And then also the transfer portal season. So we have a 50% off annual special right now at Horns 24/7. And if you are a monthly member, you can upgrade and you can get the 50% off your first year. Plus, we are also allowing instant access to Paramount Plus too. Normally, you don't get the free access to Paramount Plus until your promotional membership is over and renews, but this is a very unique special right now, so definitely take advantage of that. You get Paramount Plus as long as you are a member of Horns 24/7 at no cost. So that's saving you $100. So, or get it for your friends too. You can gift a membership, and it'll be one that is always bringing you the latest Texas news, Chip.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and definitely an unbelievable offer. Paramount Plus is, all part of our CBS family, and it's Paramount Plus is on top of its game, just like the preeminent 24/7 sports network and Horns 24/7.
Mhm.
So, Taylor, as we continue our conversation about Texas football, um, if you missed our flagship podcast interview this week, it's with Dave Softy Mahler, longtime radio voice on KJR in Seattle, who's been doing the pregame, halftime, and postgame for Washington Husky football games for 2 decades. And we break down this sort of out of nowhere turnaround for the Washington Huskies. When last we checked, Washington was floundering under Jimmy Lake. They were 4-8. Jimmy Lake gets fired. This is the guy, remember, who was elevated to defensive coordinator because Pete Kwiatkowski basically agreed to step aside and let Jimmy Lake call the defensive plays under Chris Peterson, because Peterson was worried they were going to lose, or someone was worried they were going to lose Jimmy Lake. And then it turns out he was a terrible head coach. And Kwiatkowski had enough. And so he comes to Texas. Jimmy Lake gets fired as head coach, and in comes Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer. He was the offensive coordinator at Indiana in 2019, who gets the head coaching job at Fresno State, has a couple of good seasons there at Fresno State, and gets the Washington job. And you'll hear from listening to the flagship podcast interview with Softy Mahler that Washington fans were like, Kalen DeBoer. And then they were even more flummoxed when Kalen DeBoer announces that they're getting a quarterback transfer from Indiana named Michael Penix Jr. And they're like, Michael Penix Jr.? This guy's been injured. He hadn't done nothing at Indiana. Well, guess what, folks? Michael Penix Jr. ended up having a Heisman finalist type of year and led the nation in passing yard leads. Sorry, we're still in the season. Leads the nation in passing yards, 66% completion rate, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and the guy just picks defenses apart. So, Taylor, I don't know how you felt after listening to Softy Mahler, but this is a ambush for Texas if they're not dialed in, ready to go, especially defensively. You got the number one quarterback pressuring defense in Texas and the nation's leader in passing yards. That's the marquee matchup in this game, and I'm excited to see it. I'm more excited to see this Alamo Bowl matchup than I've probably been to see Texas's last 4 Alamo Bowl matchups. How about
Yeah,
you?
I mean, if you listen to that interview, you would think that Washington is untouchable or something. Now, one thing I do think context is key, right? And if you look at what, I'm not trying to diminish anything that Washington's done this year. Obviously, a major turnaround to be 10-2, and basically was on the cusp of playing for a Pac-12 championship. But they haven't played really anyone. They have 3 wins over teams that have winning records, and that's it. Every other one that they've had, so 7 other ones have come against teams without winning records. I don't think they've faced a defense, especially anywhere close to what Texas has been playing at. Now, there's other things too, Chip. One of the things that we're kind of currently tracking right now is potential player opt-outs of the bowl game. That could obviously impact how the outcome of this goes. As Chip reported earlier this week, I guess it was the last. I can't believe we're recording on Tuesday and it feels like it's like Friday because Monday was such a long day. But
Oh yeah.
you know, Chip
Yes,
did report
Monday was
that.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. That Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson and DeMarvion Overshown are considering opting out of the bowl game. Those would be 3 pretty big losses. But if we're looking at records, obviously it looks like Washington is a team that's going to be hard to beat. And obviously the offense speaks for itself. Michael Penix Jr. leads college football in tons of individual passing categories and offensive categories too. But again, he hasn't faced a defense anywhere close, I think, to the way that the Texas defense had been playing, especially as the season wore on. So it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I totally agree with you. This is going to be really a fun one to watch. And there's a lot of ties, not with I would say the current staff per se at Washington, but, Steve Sarkisian got his first head coaching job at Washington. Pete Kwiatkowski was a longtime defensive coordinator at Washington, came to Texas to be on Sark's staff. There's just a lot of kind of intertwined, ties between Texas and Washington. That seems kind of weird to say, but there really is right now. So it's going to be a good one. And I think that the matchup to watch is obviously the Texas defense versus that Washington offense.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Washington did not play USC.
Mm-hmm.
They did not play Utah. So they did not play the 2 teams who played for the Pac-12 championship. They beat the Oregon schools, and the win at Oregon was probably the most impressive, but they had a real clunker in there too. They got upset at Arizona State, and that was an Arizona State program that fired its coach this year. So
that won 3 games.
They won 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. It's they on paper, Michigan State coming into this year looked like after they gave a $95 million contract to Michigan State's first year head coach last year. Michigan State was awful this year. And so the one thing I'll say is that these receivers, Rome Odunze. How much do you love that? Rome Odunze. 6'3", 200. He's Isaiah Nair. Okay. And he's 1,000-yard receiver. And then they have another 1,000-yard receiver in Jalen McMillan. So, I mean, this is going to be a fun test. This is a kid who can move around. He doesn't run. He can run, but he doesn't run. He moves in the pocket to extend plays, to find receivers downfield. They have a really good scramble drill. Their running back situation is by committee. Nothing fancy, nothing special, but Wayne Talapapa. I love that. Talapapa is a beast. He's kind of like a John Abraham, Jalen Warren type from, last year's Big 12. And, he pounds his way 6.2 yards. He's got 10 rushing touchdowns. And then Cameron Davis, their sophomore running back, averages 4.9 a carry, has 13 rushing touchdowns. So they can get it done on the ground. They throw the ball to set up the run, which is going to be interesting for Texas. And then, defensively, Washington's only giving up 3.5 yards per carry on the ground. Now they will get beat in the passing game. And that's where Quinn Ewers, come on down. Quinn Ewers, baby. This is your time to build that confidence back, walk out there with some swag and pretend you're playing Alabama or Oklahoma again, because Washington doesn't play 3 high safety. He should get a good look at this Washington defense. And I think Texas is going to need to run the football, Taylor. I mean, that's the other thing. We've seen Texas get itself into pickles by trying to throw the ball too much against teams that they could beat running the football. So my fear is Sark is going to look at the numbers and say, "Oh, they're good against the run, man. They're 3.5 a carry, man. We got to throw it. We got to throw it all over the place." So if that's the case, then Texas is going to need Quinn Ewers to show up on December 29th at 8:00 in the Alamo Dome with a fresh outlook on life and be able to spin that pig and move this offense, because I think this is going to be a fun. I think it's going to be a fun showdown.
Yeah, I think so too. And even if Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson end up opting out of playing in the bowl game, they have not announced it themselves, but we had heard that from a number of sources. Honestly, late in the season, we kind of heard it too. But um, you know, this is going to be a great. This is what I hope, Chip. I hope that Sark gives the young running backs a chance to really carry the load, especially if those guys are not there. I mean, those are the future of the position. This is a very solid position for Texas. I mean, shoot, Bijan Robinson, Texas has another Doak Walker Award winner now, when Bijan Robinson was named the top running back in college football, winning the 2022 Doak Walker Award. Enters elite category or elite status, in company with some of the Doak Walker Award winners of the past. But this is a really good opportunity, I think, to get, Jonathan Brooks, get maybe even Jaden Blue, Keelan Robinson. I mean, get them more involved in carrying the load for the ground game, because why not at this point, right? I mean, I think the offensive line has done a pretty good job of run protection and opening up the holes that they need. And those guys, while, there's what was the Kansas game that Jonathan Brooks kind of went off in that one, but they haven't really gotten a heavy load of carries. And so that's what I would like to see. I know Washington is, I think they're 33rd in the country in run defense, but still, I mean, this is the future of the position, and they've never really had the opportunity to be the go-to back. This could provide them an opportunity to do that. And I think that's a really important, growth and experience that they can gain in a bowl game, before, and not have to do it just starting a whole season. They can kind of just get their feet wet and then prepare the off season to be the guys. So it's going to be fascinating for sure. But yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it? I mean, do you think that this is a bad matchup for Texas?
I don't think it's a bad matchup. I think, not having DeMarvion Overshown and Bijan and Roshan is going to be a jolt to the system, but Texas, those kids are not practicing. So the Texas football team, who had a couple practices last week, and now they're taking a little time off while the coaches finish recruiting and players take finals. They'll have, they haven't really gotten into the game plan portion of practices yet. Remember, the first part of bowl practices are going to be sort of a training camp, fundamentals, young guys getting a chance to show what they've got. And then, this team should be ready to go. And I expect Texas to be on point here. But Steve Sarkisian, Tom Herman spoiled Texas fans. He went 4-0 in bowl games. Steve Sarkisian, we don't know what he's like in bowl games. It's been a minute. He hasn't been to a bowl game since 2014.
Yeah, when he was at
USC, his first year at USC. So let's see how Sark gets him ready. All right, Taylor, you ready for some love it or leave it?
I am. Before we get to love it or leave it, we're going to take a really short break, but stay tuned because we have plenty more Texas football and some basketball talk coming up. We'll be right back. And if you're watching us on the Horns 24/7 YouTube channel, we will just continue on here without a break. Chip, you ready for my first love it or leave it?
I'm ready.
All right, love it or leave it. Because of the Chris Beard suspension, the ceiling for this year's Texas Hoops team just went from the Final Four to the Sweet 16.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to, as you ask me that question, I'm immediately thinking glass half full.
Mhm.
I'm thinking back to Michigan in 1989 when Bo Schembechler fired Bill Frieder, who said he was taking the Arizona State job. And Michigan had an assistant coach named Steve Fisher, who led them to the national championship. That was a veteran team. Texas is a veteran team. So I think there will be an adjustment period. It's going to be rough. I mean, I give Rodney Terry credit. He said it's not going to be easy. This is not going to be easy. And the players are going to have to decide, how they're going to proceed. If they're feeling sorry for themselves and they're mad, this will not go well. If they rally around each other and decide, hey, man, we've beaten Gonzaga, we've beaten Creighton, we know what we can do, and they start building, then I think the ceiling can be higher than the Sweet 16 for this Texas team. It's all about matchups. Last year, Texas got a terrible matchup in the NCAA tournament. They ran into a super big Purdue team. Texas doesn't have a lot of size inside. They're super athletic. They put pressure on your guards. They get you to turn it over, and then they score off the turnovers. So I'm going to leave this, Taylor. I'm gonna go glass half full for the moment until I'm proven otherwise. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's too early to kind of say the sky is falling or the ceiling is falling in this one. I think that um obviously the Rice game went into overtime. I get it, but it was such a whirlwind day, and just the fact that they were able to pull off a win regardless of how it happened is a good sign, of at least hopefully that the team is together, in the or for right now. And I wouldn't have blamed them if they lost that game, honestly, after how all of that played out on Monday. So I think it's too soon to go to the doomsday scenarios. I think, well, the legal system's got to play out, but the maturity on the team, I think, is going to come in handy and is going to be crucial. And as long as the guys are willing to take charge of that and step up and keep the noise, the outside noise out of the locker room, and be a team, then the talent speaks for itself. So I think I'm going to also leave it. I'm not going to start going to, oh, Texas basketball is going to be falling off this year. At this point, we'll see how it goes though, in the coming weeks. So
Yeah. All right. Number two.
my second one is love it or leave it. The player who has the most to gain from the Longhorns bowl practices is Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna love this. I've been talking about how Ewers, the last 5 games were tough. I think his confidence took a hit. Um, that Oklahoma State game sort of was like, whoa, man, I've never had a game like this where I'm 19 of 49. I'm throwing 3 interceptions, and I'm the problem. And I think he showed glimpses that first half of the Kansas State game. I thought he was fantastic. But then there were other times when it was choppy. He 50% completion rate the last 5 games, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 8 sacks. So yeah, I mean, Quinn Ewers needs to, and Steve Sarkisian and AJ Milwee need to help him. They need to guide him through this process and realize this is not a guy with a ton of even high school experience. Yes, he's gifted. He's got all the tools, but even Quinn Ewers said his footwork was not good toward the end of the season, regular season. So yeah, I think Quinn Ewers does have a lot to gain here, and hopefully he's on a mission to show everybody, himself, his teammates, the opponents, the opponent in this case, Washington, that he's better than what he showed the last 5 games. So Taylor, I'm gonna love this. How about you?
Huh. I'm kind of torn because there's no denying that Quinn Ewers, has a lot to gain from these bowl practices, but I kind of want to leave it and go with, Jonathan Brooks and Jaden Blue in the running back room. I mean, they've just been, third string or lower when you look at the running back totem pole, and they now will have the opportunity to be the go-to workhorse in the ground game. And I think, obviously with Quinn Ewers' struggles, you want to have a solid running game. If the quarterback is the one thing that quarterbacks love, especially if they're struggling, is a solid running game that they can trust and rely on to kind of pull them through the ups and downs there. So I'm going to leave it, I think, and I'm going to say it's not necessarily one guy in the running back room. I would just say the running backs in general that are the younger guys that have been behind Roschon Johnson and Bijan Robinson. I think that this will give them quality opportunity just to kind of start preparing like a pro, or preparing like a starter. They have not really had to prepare like a starter so far in their career. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the running backs there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call. Okay. Love it or leave it. Number 3.
All right. Final one is love it or leave it. When we record the Flagship Podcast next week, Texas will be volleyball national champions.
Ooh, little volleyball wrinkle here. And I did go to the Elite Eight game against Ohio State. Unbelievable atmosphere. And I'm so impressed with this team. Logan Eggleston, 3-time Big 12 Player of the Year, coming back for her COVID 5th year. Same with Asia O'Neal, who, of course, her dad, longtime NBA, 7-foot center Jermaine O'Neal. She went through her second open heart surgery during her time at Texas. She's back for her 5th year. Then they bring in Madison Skinner, who was on the Kentucky team that beat Texas for the national championship in 2021. And Jared Elliott brings in the player, to me, who's made all the difference. And if Texas wins the national championship, she's going to be the number one, storyline beneath all that firepower on offense, because Jared Elliott's teams always have offense. They always have monster outside hitters and middle blockers. What they haven't had is unbelievable defense, and that's what Zoe Fleck from UCLA has given Texas. She's like a Cirque du Soleil performer. She's tiny, but she gets to every ball and somehow gets her forearms, between the ball and the floor, and keeps these, digs out one attack after another. She's worth the price of admission Thursday night when Texas takes on San Diego in the Final Four. Their 10th Final Four under Jared Elliott. I hope this team gets it done because I think they're special. So I'm just going with it. Taylor, I'm gonna love this. How about you?
I am too. I think, the time has come for Texas volleyball to win the national championship. They're always right in the mix, it seems like, but this year's team just seems different in a special way. I mean, what's their record? Isn't it 23-1 or something like that?
26-1.
26-1. Yeah. I mean, that is 27 games and you only lose one of them. That's a pretty solid record. That doesn't just happen as an anomaly. And honestly, with just the sad and bad news that has started this week, I'm going to be a glass half full and say that Texas volleyball will be national champions, just because I think Texas Nation could really use some positive news here.
I love it. I love it. Taylor, tell everyone about the 50% off special before we say goodbye.
Yeah, for a limited time, all new annual members and current monthly members who upgrade to annual will get 50% off of their first year of Texas Scoop at Horns 24/7. And bonus, this is something that rarely, if ever, happens. So, and that's not me like doing a sales pitch. I'm being dead honest about this. I was kind of surprised that they were allowing Paramount Plus to be instantly available. But for this short period of time, if you do sign up or upgrade, you will be immediately eligible for instant free access to Paramount Plus through your 24/7 sports membership. You have to link through that. So you have to sign up first with Horns 24/7. And then from there, you can link your account and have free access to all of the shows on Paramount Plus. And there's quite a few. And again, not just a sales pitch because it's our parent company, but there's a lot on there. So $99 value for free. So definitely want to take advantage of that while the time is still here. And with, early signing period coming up, bowl preparation, basketball season ramping up. There's so much going on. This is a great time to take advantage of this 50% off special.
That's right. It's football season year round at Horns
Mhm.
24/7. All right, everybody, make sure that you check out the Flagship Podcast interview with Dave Softy Mahler so that you get all the scoop on the Washington Huskies as Texas prepares for that December 29th showdown against the Huskies in San Antonio. And of course, get over to horns247.com for all the latest as we close in on signing day, transfer portal signings like Ryan Sanborn, Texas's new punter. Get it all. You know what I'm saying? And thanks so much
Official
for
visits coming up too. Official
yeah,
visits
official.
ramping up. Yeah.
I mean, what? You got to be at Horns 24/7 and you get VIP access to all the team sites on the preeminent 24/7 sports network. As Texas gets ready to go to the SEC, you want to be reading about, A&M and LSU and Georgia and Alabama, all that stuff. So just do it. Just do it. Thank us later. And we thank you for listening to this episode of the Flagship Podcast. Till next time, we'll see you over at horns247.com. For Taylor Estes, I am Chip Brown. Happy holidays and stay safe and keep the faith.